Prime Minister Mitchell pledged Grenada's support in removing barriers of doing business to foster greater intra-OCS investment. This story and more in the National Report.
Have you noticed an increase or decrease in your electricity bill? You know that changes in the fuel and non-fuel rates affect your bill. You should also be aware that changes in household activities affect your bill. Ask yourself these questions. Have the rates changed? Have there been more people at your home? Have your children been on holiday? Have you used your fan or air conditioning unit more often to beat the heat? Are any of your electrical appliances or equipment faulty? Have you added any new appliances such as transformers, water heaters, or pumps? Make it a habit to understand any changes on your electricity bill. For more factors that affect your bill, visit www.grenlec.com. Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back. With the details to the news for Wednesday, October 19, 2022, I am Sherry-Ann Noel. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell pledged Grenada's support in taking the necessary steps to remove barriers of doing business locally in an effort to foster greater intra-OCS investments. Prime Minister Mitchell believes member countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States are yet to capitalize the far-reaching benefits of intra-trade in goods and services and the development of opportunities that can be derived from intra-OCS investments. This would include finding and implementing measures that would ease financial transactions, such as setting up bank accounts, purchasing land, or accessing immovable assets urgently needed. The Grenadian leader says there is a need for the OECS to accelerate efforts to renew the implementation of Eastern Caribbean Economic Union at this time, and though strides has been made, the onus is on member country leaders to drive it forward.
My new administration commits to identifying the national bureaucratic requirements that hinder the ease of movement through the economic union with a view to addressing these matters. To this end, in our first 100 days in office, we have discontinued the need for embarkation and disembarkation card, or the ED card, for passengers leaving Grenada, and concrete steps are already on the way to eliminate the lengthy ED card requirement upon arrival at the airport. I pause to note that I'm following in the footsteps of our most senior elder statesman, Dr. Rav Gonzalez, who has already eliminated the use of the ED card in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These actions, while seemingly simple, make a big difference to the ease of travel and complement other initiatives such as the introduction of smart technologies at points of entry, which will bring about greater efficiency in the processing of passengers and strengthen data sharing among our countries.
Prime Minister Mitchell was addressing the opening ceremony of the 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority on Wednesday. PM Mitchell noted also that if intra-regional travel is not addressed, then efforts by member countries to improve its systems of doing business would be futile. As it stands, the cost of traveling between OECS countries is exorbitant and there is limited airlift opportunities. This, Prime Minister Mitchell says, is one of the biggest hurdles that must be addressed.
My presence and the presence of many of the other heads in Montserrat today was only made possible by charter flight. This cannot continue. The creation of an environment for efficient and cost-effective intra-regional transportation is central to the measures that are needed to bring about a true single financial and economic space, as is envisioned in the revised Treaty of Basseterre. My colleague heads of governments, I believe that if we can give the commitment to addressing these key matters at this 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority, we would have sown the seeds for a much brighter future for our citizens.
Moving along, the region is not immune to political instability, and so we cannot take democracy for granted. Words of Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell as he reflected on the observance of October 19th. He was speaking at the 72nd meeting of the OECS Authority on Wednesday. In remembering the tragedies of the Grenada Revolution, Prime Minister Mitchell says Grenada remains committed to the ideals of democracy and further the integration of the OECS.
And 39 years ago, on the 19th of October 1983, the Prime Minister of Grenada, Maurice Bishop, and senior members of his cabinet, including Unison Whiteman, Norris Bain, and Jacqueline Creff, were assassinated. October 19th, 1983 is 39 years ago. And while Grenada and the OECS has made significant progress, there are still countries in the region which have had to face the horrific fact of another head of state being assassinated. And as we all were, not so long ago, the president of Haiti was assassinated. And our colleagues, brothers and sisters in Haiti, are still reeling from the assassination of that president. And so this is a sobering reminder, and perhaps fitting that we should bring it up today, that we too in the region are not immune from political instability, and that we should not take our institutions and our democracy for granted. I wish to pledge to my colleague heads that Grenada firmly remains committed to the ideals of democracy and to further integration and union within the OECS movement.
39 years after the unfortunate demise of Grenada Revolution, a white flag was hoisted at Fort George and a wreath laid by government officials, signaling what is to be the beginning of the healing process. On Wednesday at the crack of dawn, Acting Prime Minister Honorable Dennis Cornwall, along with Honorable Red-Headed, participated in a flag-raising and wreath-laying ceremony at Fort George. The date October 19, 1983 is one that Grenadians must never forget, and it should be used as a time to reflect upon as the demise of the People's Revolutionary Government, led by fallen Prime Minister Maurice Bishop, ended in a division of our people. Honorable Reddit says the scars left by the pain and suffering of the events of 1983 needs to be healed. As a result of this, his government will use the opportunity to propose a series of actions geared towards promoting national healing.
Next year, Grenada will remember and recognize all days of the tragic ending, from the 19th to the 25th, a week-long of activities. October 19th will be declared a holiday, and a special consideration will be given to developing our National Heroes Framework to designate a day entitled Maurice Bishop Day, among others. The government will make an official request to our friends in the US and UK to provide factual information surrounding the bodies of the fallen. No government, no people, or system is so evil that it cannot give a respectable burial, even in ceremony, to our fallen Grenadian men and women leaders.
There are plans to construct a monument of peace early in 2023 that will bear the names of all those who have died as a result of the tragic events of October 19, 1983.
In recognition of the tragedy of 83, in keeping with the guidelines of monuments, it will incorporate the names of all Grenadians who lost their lives on the 19th. This monument, we believe, can be a symbol for peace and healing. And finally, teaching the stories about the Grenada Revolution will be encouraged through civic education in the first instance. A country unaware of its past is undoubtedly doomed to repeat it.
He says while the government is in its young days, they suggest engaging in mature conversations in treating with the pain and sadness associated with the ending of the revolution.
This administration will not encourage the nation to continue to carry burdens of the past. The division, anger, and hatred towards each other will never help to heal, nor are they conducive to development. Let us make a collective decision to recover, and in the true spirit of the rebel, notwithstanding the actions of the past, say forward ever, backward never.
Honorable Redhead says the nation must forgive but not forget and accept the reality that as human beings we are all prone to errors, being mindful that an error does not become a mistake until we fail to correct it. The Molyneux Land Slippage Rehabilitation Project is one of significant importance to the government of Grenada. It is part of a larger road rehabilitation project that spans 26 kilometers from Greenbridge all the way to Waltham St. Mark. Acting Prime Minister and Minister for Infrastructure, Honorable Dennis Cornwall, says this is evident with the priority given by his administration in reassessing the slippage and engaging the relevant stakeholders in meaningful consultations to ensure that everything was in place for the official commencement of the work. Due to the critical nature and urgency to have the area restored, that portion of the project will be done with local funding to the tune of $10.3 million. Apart from the reconstruction of the roadway, Honorable Cornwall also addressed the issue of compensation for lost property and how his government intends to treat with it.
We have had complaints where two of the owners of the properties on the Molyneux project area complained that we started the project without compensating them. I want to reassure the people that we have taken steps to value the property, and the government is committed to paying some form of compensation for the property. I also want to just send this warning to people that it's not that because you have a piece of property in a particular location, you should go ahead and build it ignoring planning permission. Because the land on which we are talking about rehabilitation at the moment is really a gravel heap. And if you didn't take into consideration the fact that this is a gravel heap and you ignored all planning permissions and so on and went ahead and built, until the consequences are what they are in the sense that the road is falling apart, it could be considered an act of God. And I think the persons who have owned property there should understand that even the insurance companies may or may not be able to at least compensate them if they were not insured in the first case. And that having done what they had done could mean also that the government is not fully committed to basically say, well, look, I'm going to compensate you because you built there in a way that you should not have built in there and so on.
The Infrastructure Minister says government will engage in further dialogue with property owners as there are several means of valuating properties. He says the dialogue is necessary if both parties are to reach some form of amicable solution.
The one in particular that we are dealing right now with, we have used the comparative measures. Comparative measure basically looking at other valuation done on property that was sold in the area, and that would give us a best guide as to where the property values could be targeted and so on. You couldn't use the income value because it's not an income generating scenario, and other measures that are also available would not be applicable for that situation. And therefore, anyone who believes that you can use any other method apart from the comparison method to determine the value of the properties would be misguided. I also want to make it clear that having had the situation where the land slipped and some of the houses were damaged, it is not practical to basically see a damaged property and decide that it's going to be valued as if it was a property standing there in its full glory. It would not be the case. And therefore, we have to take all those into consideration.
The Molyneux Land Slippage Rehabilitation Project is expected to take approximately 10 months to complete. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
Welcome back. Principals, teachers, and representatives from the business community were engaged in a stakeholder consultation hosted by the Grenada National Accreditation Board on Wednesday at the Radisson Grenada Beach Resort. The Accreditation Board has been around since 2014 and is charged with the responsibility for quality assurance and accreditation of post-secondary and tertiary level institutions in Grenada. Wednesday's consultation was organized to prepare for the launch of the Grenada National Qualifications and Credit Framework. The Accreditation Board has so far drafted a framework and is looking for suggestions and feedback from the stakeholders. GIS was able to catch up with the morning session, which included principals and teachers. The board's executive director, Mrs. Pauline Finlay, explained during an interview the benefits to be derived from the framework.
A qualification framework is a pictorial tool that is used to indicate the levels of qualifications that are administered in Grenada. So you have certificates, for example, you have diplomas, you have postgraduate diplomas, you have postgraduate certificate, you have honors, you have first degrees, you have masters, you have PhDs. So you have all these qualifications. And then when you look at certificates, for example, you have different types of certificates. When you look at diploma, there are different types of diplomas. When an employer is looking at your certificate, they want to make sure that that certificate is at a particular level and it's equivalent to the similar certificate administered by other countries, other institutions in the region, as well as other countries internationally.
Mrs. Finlay said the process towards a final draft is detailed.
There are a lot of different procedures and processes involved, so we have about a year to go before we can produce what you call a final draft.
Principal of the T.A. Marichaud Community College, Dr. Ronald Burnton, said the development of a framework is important as it recognizes and regulates qualification from institutions nationally.
We are here again to participate, to share the views of the college on qualifications development, to ensure that our degree programs meet international best practice and that we can go through the process of accreditation with GNAB effortlessly. This exercise today is critical to raise the standard of tertiary education in Grenada, to ensure that all institutions that are operating in Grenada meet the minimum standards for quality, to ensure that the stakeholders have an opportunity to share their views on the qualifications that are being developed for the Grenada population.
The consultation consisted of topics like accreditation and its benefits, degree fraud and diploma mills, types of degrees, and more. Sports Minister Honorable Ron Redhead says government is pleased with the performance of the Grenada national netball team at the World Cup qualifiers in Jamaica. The team left the island last Tuesday, October the 11th, and was successful in 3 games thus far against St. Lucia, Cayman Islands, and Antigua and Barbuda. The Spice Girls unfortunately lost games number 4 and 5 against Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados respectively. In the Trinidad and Tobago encounter, Trinidad scored 66 against Grenada's 42, and the Barbados encounter saw Grenada going down 60 goals to 30. The sports minister lauded the performance shown by the national team thus far, voicing the government's continued support in netball and other sporting disciplines.
First off, we want to congratulate the team 100%. I think they have the fire, the spirit, everything. And this is part in where we see the sports going in terms of winning competitions. We are very proud to have given the support both to the male teams. They came 3rd in their competition a few months ago, and also now to the female team, who they are performing wonderful. So I think overall, where we would like to see this partnership go is for government to invest heavy in community and grassroots development of our athletes, and have the associations play the important role of the national effort that is required to take us to competitions, etc., etc. So once we have that collaborative effort, we are confident that we'll see more competitions securing victories by Grenadian teams.
The netball event concludes on Saturday, October the 22nd. And with that story, we come to the end of the National Report for Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.